The Obama Presidential Center opens. Those first ticket holders who come into this space, what are you going to be feeling in that moment?
So I'll feel a lot of gratitude. The degree to which people invested in Michelle and me and what we were trying to do. But I really am hoping that it's less an act of nostalgia and that it's more an inspiration for us moving forward. To get a sense of, all right, this was a small chapter in America's ongoing journey to perfect its union.
The Obama Presidential Center sprawls across Jackson Park on Chicago's South Side, just blocks from where Michelle Obama grew up, in the city where Barack Obama's political career was born. It features a 225-foot-tall tower housing the Obama Presidential Museum, a public forum, a vegetable garden, plus green spaces, and a branch of the Chicago Public Library where we spoke. I've walked the property, walked the space. Yeah. 6 or 7 stories, like 19 acres outside of Chicago, more than $800 million. They're presidential libraries, and then there's this.
I didn't want to build a mausoleum. Yeah. I'm too young for that. I really did want to think of this as a center, a hub for the next generation being inspired, motivated, but also getting help and getting resources to carry that baton further.
The new museum traces Obama's rise and time in office. It highlights his accomplishments, but also documents where the former president feels his administration fell short. There's even a section dedicated to his work on the Iran nuclear deal, a deal recently scrapped and replaced with a new one by President Trump. What do you make of what we know about the deal so far?
I am very happy to see a ceasefire, and I'm hopeful that it holds. But in terms of what was the original rationale for this war, which was there was a deal in place in which Iran had agreed not to develop nuclear weapons. This administration, or a prior version of this administration, pulled out of it, which caused then Iran to develop more nuclear capacity. We've now fought a war, spent billions and billions of dollars, put an enormous strain on our military. A lot of people have died. And it feels like we're back where we were before we started the war, except maybe a little bit worse, awfully.
Let me give you a couple headlines. The Obama Center opens as a time warp to an old political order. With his new museum, Obama offers a trip to a parallel America. What do you make of that sentiment? That this is a reminder of what America was?
Well, I think it's true, and I think it's a reminder of what America is. There's no doubt that we are going through a period right now of disruption, polarization. That's caused, I think, people to feel as if our democracy, our civic habits and virtues, our shared understanding of how we treat each other has started to crumble. On the other hand, when I travel across the country today, not just when I was president, you still see that sense of decency with people. You still see folks helping each other and looking out for their neighbors. I'm glad that this center and this library and the museum, this entire campus, reminds people not of the past, but reminds people of what's inside all of us. We all have the capacity for looking out for each other. We all have the capacity to feel a civic responsibility to make sure our government works. We all play a part in assuring that our elected officials are accountable. That's not something that I think we can afford to suggest is behind us.
Do you think in the current climate that someone like you, with your background and your story, do you think that you could break through now the same way you did back in 07, 08?
I do think it's harder because of the nature of your business, the media. It's more splintered. When I gave that speech at the convention,
there is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America.
Suddenly I'm a national figure because all the networks covered it. And the challenge we now have is that the media is so splintered that people who are doing excellent work, people who are just as gifted, or in some cases more gifted than I am, to communicate people's aspirations, hopes, and dreams, who are really doing great work at state and local levels. It's harder for them to break through. I think we're in a transition period where there are a lot of Barack and Michelle Obamas out there doing cool stuff, but our politics hasn't quite given them the space platform yet. Okay. Media hasn't shined a spotlight on them yet.
At his side through 8 years in office and everything else, former First Lady Michelle Obama. Her touch felt throughout the center. From the gowns to the garden to that sledding hill that she didn't have when she was a little girl. Michelle Obama's fingerprints are all over this place.
All over this place.
What do you want folks who come here to take away with regard to her legacy?
That she was a full partner, that her journey is just as improbable as mine. She grew up, like I said, 10 blocks from here in her aunt's house because her parents didn't own the house. And that little girl, Michelle Obama, ended up being the First Lady of the United States and was as powerful an ambassador for America and occupied that office with as much warmth and class and dignity and beauty as anybody could.
Something else near and dear to the former president's heart, sports. One of his favorite exhibits includes the unique memorabilia he's collected over the years. He actually had custom high tops that he wore while he played basketball at the White House. Known to shoot a few hoops himself during his time in office, his center even includes an NBA regulation-sized basketball court. So it was no surprise to hear he was glued to the recent NBA Finals. But, Mr. President, all those years in office, you were talking about hope and change, and who knew that you were talking about the New York Knicks?
Listen, my first real basketball hero was Walt Clyde Frazier, and I loved those 70s Knicks, and I've got a lot of friends from New York, and I know a lot of long-suffering fans.
Yes.
That I could not be happier for. So kudos to them. What an incredible run. Captain Brunson put them on their shoulders.
But perhaps the most meaningful part of the center is an exhibit that focuses on the letters Obama received from the public while in office. I understand that one of your favorite parts is this multimedia display, and it shows letters.
Yeah.
Some of the letters every night that you would send.
Right. 10 letters a day. 10
letters a day.
Yeah. Out of the 40,000 we were getting.
There was one in particular that caught my attention. There's a 7-year-old girl. Her name's Emily, and when she wrote the letter, she was the same age as Sasha. She lost her mom to cancer. Yeah. She said that before Mom died, she was able to go in her wheelchair and vote for you in 2008. And you wrote her back, of course, and you said that you wrote about losing your mom too at an early age and how that shaped you. She heard that her letter was featured here in the library, and she wanted to send a message.
I feel a lot of emotions right now, mainly peace and pride, knowing that my mother's legacy continues to live on, not only through myself, but now at the Obama Presidential Center. I also feel very grateful to be able to report back 17 years later, and I'm happy to say that I was able to graduate college with a BSN and have since become a registered nurse. I would like to take this opportunity also to thank President Barack Obama for everything he has done, as well as always reminding me to dream big dreams.
Oh, well, all right. So, like, I can tell that's a setup, but I appreciate it. What a wonderful message. You know, those letters would come every night. And what they helped me do was to just remind me that I used to tell my staff, you run elections and get elected, but the end point is, are you delivering something to make the lives of folks a little bit better who sent you? And those letters reminded me of that. Some of my favorite letters were from Republicans who would say, I didn't vote for you, I don't agree with anything you're doing, but you seem like a good dad. and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And what that video that you just showed me speaks to, I hope when people come here, they're not just fixated on some speech I'm giving, not just fixated on Michelle's dresses. More than anything, as you've seen in these exhibits, you'll hear the voices of the American people. And that, I think, will give you encouragement. That makes you feel that the idea of America as a multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-religious, raucous, noisy democracy, that can work. I think their voices are what makes you feel confident in the future.
Well, the president said he is optimistic about the future. Again, the center with a price tag of about $850 million in private funding, including a donation from our parent company, Comcast, opens today. All of the spaces are free except for that museum, which you have to secure tickets for in advance. You were actually at the ceremony yesterday, Laura, because your mother oversaw its development as CEO of the Obama Foundation. Oh, that's a lovely picture of you and Valerie.
I was there.
What were your takeaways?
I was so happy to be there to support her. It's not every day that you get to tell your parent as an adult, I am so proud of you. Yeah. And I know how hard she has worked on this for so long. And I was so happy to be able to be there as she could see it through fruition. Also, crazy, interesting people watching there. Let me just tell you, the mashup of pairings in the sections. Like, you got Dave Chappelle next to Sidney McCain. You got world leaders like Angela Merkel with the Roots. It was great.
It was fun to watch.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.